I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Monica Militella or Malinsky, either or works. And I am the Director of Medicare Sales for AHCP. So if there's any questions or concerns after the webinar today, feel free to reach out to me and I'll provide my contact details in the chat, and then I'll have it also at the end of this presentation. But other than that, let's get started. So today I'm going to be kind of doing just like a quick guide, I guess, on how to use the SunFire platform. And again, if after today you have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to reach out and ask. And hopefully you guys can see my screen. If anything, just let me know. I'll put it in the chat and I will hopefully get my screen working good, but hopefully you guys can see my screen. All right, so moving on the agenda. So today, like I said, it's going to be kind of just like a quick guide of how to get started in SunFire, who has access, what are the login details, some key features, and I'll do a little bit of a walkthrough after today. All right, so who has access to SunFire? So if you have in green here, if you have any of the carriers in green, you should have access to the SunFire platform. And I know I said I have HST on there, so I apologize. It's HST, AHCP, either or works. You in the green will have access. I know we are still working on getting United Healthcare and Humana coming soon. So once that gets processed in there, you are going to have access to SunFire as well. But as long as you have one of the carriers listed in green, you will have access to the SunFire platform. If you don't see any of the carriers listed, unfortunately, you will not have access inside the SunFire platform. However, this is a question that I know came up a lot. If you do have one of the carriers in green and you have access to the SunFire platform, you can quote multiple carriers in here. It's just the enrollment purposes, right? So you could only enroll the carriers in green. So I think I have it on the next slide, which I do, which is amazing. So agents that are ready to sell with the following carriers will be able to quote and enroll for the ones that are listed in green, right? So you just need one of the carriers listed in green and you'll have access. If you have access to SunFire, again, you are able to quote the other carriers that aren't listed in green. You just won't be able to enroll in that site. You just have to go directly to the carrier site. So hopefully that kind of answers some of those questions. So as we're waiting for United and Humana, you are more than welcome to go to their carrier site to quote and enroll, but of course you are able to use the SunFire feature for quoting purposes. And here's some just additional things too. So like I said, if you don't have the ones in green, I'm just repeating myself, but just so you're aware, if you don't have access to SunFire, and if you want access, just make sure to reach out to us and you will add just one of the carriers in green and you could have access to SunFire. If you do not and you don't choose to, that is completely okay as well. You are able to, here's just kind of some alternatives while we wait for the rest of the carriers to kind of implement in the SunFire system. You can go into the carrier sites, or you could go through Medicare.gov for quoting. That is the governmental site for Medicare. So you are more than welcome to use that for quoting. Enrollments, like I mentioned before, you may go through the carrier site and then the call recordings for Zoom. Because that is a huge thing, right? For compliance reasons, if we do plan on doing our calls, our enrollments right over the phone, we do need to make sure that we do have a call recording in place for enrollments. So please make sure to keep that in mind if you do not have access to SunFire or if you're waiting to have access to SunFire in the system. All right, moving on. So how do we log in to our HST SunFire, AHCP SunFire? This is the link. And again, after today, I will try to send all this information out to you guys. So this is the link to get access into the SunFire. If you are brand new, it is going to be your AHCP email, or it is going to be your personal. That is something that we just kind of noticed, if it's not your AHCP email, it will most likely be your personal email address to log in for your username. Your password is going to be a capital X, the pound, your NPN, and the first 3 letters of your last name in lowercase. So that is going to be how you get logged in to our SunFire platform system. However, if you have any kind of issues and you can't have any logins, please reach out to Stacy Bean, and I will provide her her details in the end here. But she is going to be the person for any type of SunFire inquiries that come across and you just can't log in. But typically it will be your AHCP email address or your personal email, and then your password is going to be a capital X, pound, NPN, and the first 3 letters of your last name in lowercase. So, and there's a lovely example there, just so you have that in mind. And again, I will, after today, I will do an email blast, and I will post not only the recording today, but I will also post the PowerPoint for you to have as well with the additional attachments. So I know in here, I also did a SunFire agent guidance here, so you know how to get logged in into the SunFire platform. So here are some features for SunFire that I think are just super duper important, especially for us folks, right, in Medicare and compliances, things that we need to make sure we're checking off here, right? So some key features that SunFire has, right? Customer needs assessment. So this is just, you know, the typical, what is the PCP that they're interested in? What is their providers that they like? Their drugs, their, do they like to travel? Do they want any kind of dental vision? Whatever it is, SunFire has this key feature where you could, as you go, and again, I'll try to do a little bit of a demo here so you kind of get an idea of how this looks. But essentially, it is just kind of a nice little needs assessment as you go through the SunFire platform and fill those out for your customers. The other thing that I absolutely love that SunFire has that is very unique is a customer lookup feature, a BEQ. So some of you might be familiar with this, some of you might not be, but for those who are not, as long as you have the customer's date of birth, their Medicare number, and their zip code, you will be able to pull up what their current status is. So if they, you know, are maybe eligible for Medicaid, or if they just got their original Medicare, or if they're on a current MAPD plan and you just want something, they maybe want a different plan with like lower costs, or if they need a comparison. This is a huge, huge thing I like in SunFire that you could do and to compare in there. Another lovely features that SunFire has is not only do they have a scope of appointment you could use, so you don't have to go to the carrier sites, you could just go right in here for SunFire for the scope. Or, and they have also a voice, an email signature or text. So it's super duper nice and super duper convenient, right? And then of course they have that call recording that we need to do compliantly. And the disclaimer pops up too. So you have that to say it as well. And I'm of course talking ahead of myself as always. So like I said, here's a quick guide. And again, I promise I will get into it and I'll try to do a little bit of a demo here too, depending on how time goes. But just a quick guide, right? How do we get into it once we all have access to SunFire? You just go into quote and enroll. Hit the blue button here to check that off. So you could, you know, get that information for your client. Like I said, in order to pull up their current status, you need their zip code, their Medicare number, and their date of birth. And I also threw in another resource in there. So that's a nice attachment. So you got a quick guide of how to do this customer lookup feature, but it's pretty simple. Just go to quote and enroll, customer lookup, enter that information, and it should pull up what the customer status is. All right, so moving on. For folks, when you do that customer lookup feature, most states will also provide, if for instance, they have some type of Medicaid or LIS status. So what that means is if they have some kind of low income and they might need some additional financial assistance. So these are where the states you could look up that current status with that customer lookup feature. So it's super duper nice. And again, throw in another resource for you, which states you have that eligibility lookup. So, you know, for me at least, I'm not gonna remember all these states, but I know some states just don't offer this just based on their rules and regulations. But these are the states that you're able to also look up their Medicaid eligibility status. So that's super duper helpful for folks that need to kind of also check to see if they have any type of maybe decent plans, if they have any kind of Medicaid involvement. So yeah, super duper helpful. Here are the states, and don't worry, again, like I said, I'll post slides so you don't have to remember all these, but feel free to snap a quick pic if anything. All right, moving on. So this one's a huge thing that SunFire added last year. This is part of a CMS compliance. So if, again, one thing that is nice, if you want to call your clientele and, you know, get all that information, right? Their needs assessment, their providers, their prescriptions, all that good stuff. You do not need to have it call recorded prior to. But when you fill out the scope, get all that information, and you need that call recording for specifically to enrollments. So once you get all that information, maybe just give them a text or a quick call, be like, hey, I'm going to now be calling you off this number. And this is going to be the call recording feature that I'm going to call and do my enrollment in. So this is free for you guys to use. And in order to have that set up, it will be on your homepage in SunFire. You go on that top right corner, find your initial, and you go into profile and add that dialer feature. It will say some kind of cost in there, but it should be no cost for you. So, and this I will show again after going through these slides. I will kind of show you a quick way to kind of add that dialer phone. And what's nice is once you get that set up and you initiate that call, that disclaimer will pop up right away. So it's super duper nice. And speaking of, I think I will do my walkthrough right now, and then I'll continue. So let me just exit out of here, stop my share, split second. And then of course, if there's any questions, please throw that in the chat when you get a chance. All right, so let me just go up here, get into my lovely SunFire. Of course, I didn't log in, so I apologize. Give me 1 second here. All right, I will share my screen again. I know this says HST here, but for you, it will say AHCP. Oh wait, you can't even see my screen, just kidding. Okay, now you guys should see my screen. So, like I said, for you, it will say AHCP, but for me, it just says AHCP. It doesn't matter, you'll just see the logo. Same kind of setup here, right? So like I said, in order to see that customer lookup feature, right? So just to give you a quick demo, go to quote and enroll. You'll see that customer lookup feature here. Just make sure you check that box, and that should pull up the zip code, Medicare number, and date of birth. And then you'll just click look up and you'll be able to see that current client status. Now, if you are interested in adding a dialer phone, if you have not done so yet, go to that top right-hand corner here, go to your profile, scroll down, and again, it was showing literally yesterday, but for some reason it's not showing today. So I apologize for this. But typically you'll see in here, there is an add phone for me right now, but it should be another feature that's an add dialer phone. So you would click on that and it would ask for your area code of some sort. I would keep it the same. I'd keep it the same as your, mobile or your work phone, and then just add it in, and it should adjust, and you should see it on that top right corner here afterwards. Then you just go to save, and it would be right in there for you. So I apologize. this is a little wonky on me today because I think of the admin access, it kind of maybe had started a little glitch for me, but typically you would see it on the top right-hand corner and you would start the call recording. Once that pops up, you'll see the disclaimer appear here. And you have to make sure that you say the disclaimer out loud, and it should pre-populate the amount of plans in the area. So as long as you read the disclaimer, you hit continue, you can, quote and enroll and search contacts. So that is a super nice feature. I apologize for that inconvenience, but typically you'll see it here and you will be able to add it. So you should see it. For some reason, it's not showing up on mine, but it will show for yours. For just in general, right, for quoting. Let's say I'm going to quote and I want to see some interesting things. Let's say I don't need the customer lookup. I'm just going to go through a zip code. I always do Chicago since I'm just more familiar with it. So go to the zip codes here. Just like I mentioned before, it kind of starts giving you that needs assessment that is super nice. So it's going to ask, right, are we planning on looking up Medicare Advantage plans, some standalone Medicare Sup, whatever the case is. Let's say I'm looking at Medicare Advantage plans. Now it starts asking, are they enrolled in some kind of drug plan, right? And you could see all that when you do that customer lookup, or, just simply ask them, whatever is most convenient. Same thing, doctors are always gonna pop up. I always put in a Smith in here, just because it's probably the most common last name I know. And let's check, let's do Smith Abigail. See, we're gonna make that the primary doctor. See, that pulls up in network. And then you do this for any other doctors that they want added to their plan. Same thing with medications. I usually do a generic one here that everyone's familiar with. And then don't forget to put the frequency and the quantity, and then go ahead and save that medication. So it's pretty, I would say explanatory, but of course, if there's any questions, just let me know. Same thing, they'll start asking a bunch of these questions and then just ask away as you go. And then I like this segment here. They ask, what are the most key features that, maybe a client is looking for? Are they diabetic? Do they really care about hearing coverage or, that flexibility of seeing a new provider? You are more than welcome to kind of put that info there. And then you could just view plans. So some things to keep in mind when we're loading these plans. So of course, you will notice, like I said, United Healthcare has not been implemented yet in the system. Even if you are ready to sell for United, it just won't show up in here. But this still gives me access to look up the plan of United. And I can still compare and then send them an email, right? Just make sure when you want to enroll someone for United or Humana, go directly to the carrier site. But this doesn't not give you access, right, to look up and quote for your clients on this. It will just say not point to sell. Even if you are ready to sell, right? You just need to go directly to the carrier site. But I know this has been a question folks have been asking me, and hopefully that gives a little bit of clarification. But Aetna should be now in the system. Of course, it's not showing up for me though, but it should be directly linked. For instance, if you wanted to compare and send an email out to the customer, you can just click here and then you could select up to 3. You could email that, or you could just do a nice comparison. So I'm going to throw in another one. Let's say I'm going to do in Blue Cross just to compare. And then it'll give you the plan links as well. But let's say I just want to compare, click here. And then right off the bat, you have a nice side-by-side comparison of these two plans. So it's pretty nice, pretty simplistic. And I believe at the bottom here too, you could pull up. So this is directly through the carrier, right? The summary of benefits, evidence of coverage, star ratings, all this good stuff. You could click here and you can pull up and they'll give you the links from the actual carriers, which is super duper helpful. So this is just kind of a quick, I know, I'm not going to go into all the little nitty gritty details, but that is just kind of a nice quick overview of how the SunFire platform looks and kind of what to expect, right? Even to send a scope. Make sure, you send this early to them. You got to do the 48 hours prior to talking about enrollments. You can email them, text them, or you could upload a scope. If you email them, this is kind of the setup it will look like. I always recommend checking off all the boxes just in case something else pops up. Of course, you saw I didn't have anything filled in, but typically you would fill in your profile. So you'll see all this information here completed. And then, of course, if you did a customer client information, you'll see their information pop up as well. So then you will just send this over to them at the bottom and then provide me this. Of course, I have all these errors because I didn't fill this all out. But just so you could see, it's pretty simple. It will send it out to the clientele. Then they just need to check it, and then you will receive the completed scope from the client. Just make sure, please make sure you'll see it here. Please make sure to click to sign as you as the agent. So that scope appointment gets fully processed. But yes, so this was just kind of a quick guide of how this kind of looks inside the SunFire platform. I apologize again, so you can't see the call recording, but that is something that it looks like. And then you could search in your contacts as well in here. So I'll stop sharing again, and then I'll go back to the PowerPoint. But hopefully that kind of gave a nice little overview. All right, hold on. Let me do my lovely Zoom share again. Okay. Let's continue. All right, so we kind of did that nice little walkthrough, right? We went over how to set up a call recording, how to set the dialer phone, how to send a scope, how to utilize the quote and enroll, and how it kind of goes up to the needs assessment, right? And then when you view all plans, again, right, the ones in green that you see will say appointed on there. If you see not appointed and you are ready to sell in for that carrier, that just means it's maybe not linked with our SunFire, right? And like I said, that's something that we are trying to implement all the carriers, but as of now, just have something to keep in mind, right? The ones in green that you saw, you can quote enroll, but the ones that you didn't see, you could quote, you just can't enroll. You just got to go directly through the carrier site. So these are some additional attachments. So again, you could click at this after I will do an email blast. So this is just general stuff, right? How to do a call recording walkthrough, how to do a customer lookup, some broker resources, and then, that Medicaid eligibility lookup states. So these are just some, I just like these attachments because they're just like a quick guide, right? Just in case you just need a recap of everything that I went over. So as promised, this is our lovely contact information for Stacy, right? So if you have any login issues, right, with SunFire, or just need access, or just want to check what is my ready to sell status inside SunFire, right? So I believe I have Aetna or Devoted. Can you just check that? Can you double check that for me? So Stacy Bean, that is her email. That is her phone number. Feel free to reach out to her for any issues. If there are just anything else, right? Just, hey, Monica, I just need how do you do the quoting thing? I saw the PDF and I'm not sure. That is my contact information as well. So feel free to take a pic, jot that down. Again, I'll do an email blast today at the end of today. That'll answer that for you. But again, this is just our contact information, and I hope you guys learned some things today for SunFire. But again, if there are any questions, concerns, or you need help setting up, please do not hesitate to reach out. I hope this was informative, and I hope I answered some of those questions about SunFire. But again, if there's any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to me or Stacy. Now I will see if there's any questions in the chat here, but I don't think there are any. I think I have the chat open too. Yeah. So I think that's all I got for you guys today. I'm doing good on timing. I'm 5 minutes prior to ending the webinar. But yeah, hopefully, like I said, hopefully you guys learned a lot today. If anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. I got the attendance sheet, so I will, again, like I said, forward an email blast after today, and I hope you guys kind of got a little bit more insight on SunFire. All right, well, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll be reaching out soon. Have a good one. Bye.